The morning sun cast long shadows across the ruins of what had once been downtown Chicago. General Marcus Kane stood atop the skeletal remains of the Willis Tower, his weathered hands gripping the twisted metal railing as he surveyed the devastation below. 3 months had passed since the Zephyrian Empire's first strike, and the scars on Earth's surface told a story of unprecedented destruction. The alien bombardment had lasted exactly 17 minutes. 17 minutes that changed the course of human history forever. Major cities across 6 continents had been reduced to smoking craters, their populations vaporized by weapons that defied every law of physics humanity thought they understood. The death toll stood at 2 billion souls, and that number climbed higher each day as radiation sickness and infrastructure collapse claimed more lives. Kane's tactical display flickered to life, projecting holographic data streams across his field of vision. The neural interface, a recent innovation from the emergency military research programs, fed him real-time intelligence from across the globe. Refugee camps stretched across the Australian outback. Underground bunkers in the Swiss Alps housed what remained of the European governments. The African coalition had retreated to the deepest mines in South Africa, while the American survivors had found shelter in the vast cave systems of the Rocky Mountains. "General, we have movement in Sector 7, came the voice of Lieutenant Sarah Chen through his comm implant. The young officer had lost her entire family in the Lowe's Angels strike, but her tactical brilliance had earned her a place on Kane's command staff. Long-range sensors are picking up Zephyrian scout ships, approximately 6 hours out from the eastern seaboard. Kane's jaw tightened. The aliens had been conducting regular reconnaissance missions since their initial attack, studying human defensive capabilities with the methodical precision of a predator sizing up wounded prey. Intelligence suggested they were preparing for a second wave, one designed to finish what they had started. "Any word from the Beijing facility?" Kane asked, his voice carrying across the secured channel to the underground command center 3 levels below. "Dr. Yamamoto reports they're still analyzing the wreckage from the downed scout ship in Nevada," Chen responded. "Initial findings suggest their technology operates on quantum-dimensional principles we're only beginning to understand. The power source alone generates energy equivalent to a small star." Kane nodded grimly. The crashed Zephyrian vessel had been a stroke of luck, shot down by an experimental railgun platform during the initial invasion. The alien crew had activated some kind of self-destruct mechanism before human forces could reach them, but enough technology remained intact to provide crucial intelligence about their enemy's capabilities. The Zephyrian Empire ruled over 43 star systems, commanding a fleet of vessels that dwarfed anything in human imagination. Their ground forces wielded personal weapons capable of leveling city blocks, while their soldiers were genetically enhanced beings, standing nearly 8 feet tall with natural armor plating and reflexes that made them nearly untouchable in combat. Yet for all their technological superiority, the aliens had made one critical mistake. They had assumed humanity would surrender after the first strike, that the sight of their burning cities would break human resolve and force an immediate capitulation. They had broadcast a surrender ultimatum across every frequency, demanding humanity's complete submission to Zephyrian rule within 72 hours. Instead, humanity had gone underground and begun preparing for war. Kane's thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Colonel James Rodriguez, head of the Military Intelligence Division. The man's usually pristine uniform was stained with dust and grease, evidence of his recent inspection of the manufacturing facilities hidden beneath Denver. "General, I have an update from Operation Phoenix," Rodriguez said, producing a secure tablet from his jacket. "Production is ahead of schedule. We'll have the first batch of enhanced weapons ready for field testing within the week." Operation Phoenix represented humanity's desperate gamble. Using reverse-engineered alien technology combined with human innovation, Earth's surviving scientists and engineers were developing weapons systems that could theoretically penetrate Zephyrian shields and armor. The project consumed resources from every surviving nation, pooling their scientific expertise and manufacturing capabilities into a unified effort. "What about the volunteers for the enhancement program?" Kane asked, though he already knew the answer would trouble him. Rodriguez's expression darkened. "We have more applicants than we can process. Word has spread about the neural interface upgrades and genetic modifications. People are willing to do whatever it takes to fight back." The enhancement program was humanity's most controversial initiative. Volunteers underwent surgical procedures to implant alien-derived technology directly into their nervous systems, allowing for superhuman reflexes and tactical awareness. The genetic modifications pushed human physiology to its absolute limits, creating soldiers who could match Zephyrian ground forces in direct combat. The mortality rate for the procedures stood at 37%. Kane walked to the edge of the platform, looking out over the refugee camp that had sprouted among the ruins below. Thousands of makeshift shelters housed the survivors of Chicago, people who had lost everything, but refused to give up hope. Children played games with scraps of metal and broken concrete, while their parents worked to rebuild some semblance of civilization from the ashes. "They think we're monsters," Kane said quietly, watching a group of protesters gathered near the camp's medical facility. Signs condemning the enhancement program dotted the crowd, their messages calling for peaceful resistance rather than militaristic retaliation. "Some do," Rodriguez agreed. "But most understand what we're up against. The Zephyrians didn't come here to negotiate or coexist. They came to conquer and subjugate. Every day we delay gives them more time to bring additional forces to bear." A priority alert flashed across Kane's display, causing both officers to focus their attention on the incoming data stream. Orbital surveillance had detected massive energy signatures building in the outer system, consistent with Zephyrian fleet movements. The aliens were massing for their final assault. "How long do we have?" Kane asked. "Intelligence estimates 6 to 8 weeks before they're in position for planetary bombardment," Rodriguez replied. "After that, there won't be anywhere left to hide." Kane activated his command interface, establishing secure connections to resistance cells across the globe. The faces of surviving military leaders appeared in holographic projection around him, men and women who had watched their nations burn but refused to surrender. Admiral Sarah Mitchell commanded the remnants of the British Royal Navy from a base hidden beneath the Scottish Highlands. General Liu Wei had organized Chinese resistance forces in the vast underground cities of Beijing. Colonel Maria Santos coordinated South American operations from bunkers built into the Andes Mountains. Each leader represented millions of survivors who looked to them for hope and protection. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kane began, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. "We've received confirmation that the Zephyrians are preparing for their final offensive. Our window of opportunity is closing rapidly." The faces on the display showed varying degrees of determination and concern. Admiral Mitchell spoke first, her crisp British accent cutting through the tension. "What's the status of Phoenix assets? Do we have enough enhanced soldiers to mount an effective resistance?" "Current projections show we'll have approximately 50,000 enhanced troops ready for deployment within the month," Rodriguez answered. "Additional conventional forces number in the hundreds of thousands, but their effectiveness against Zephyrian technology remains questionable." General Liu Wei leaned forward, his scarred face reflecting the hardships of the past months. "The Beijing facility has developed new shield technologies based on captured alien components. We can protect major population centers for limited periods, but sustained bombardment will overwhelm our defenses." Kane studied the tactical projections flowing across his display. Human industrial capacity had been severely damaged by the initial attack, but the surviving facilities were producing weapons and equipment at unprecedented rates. The entire global economy had been restructured around military production, with every available resource dedicated to the war effort. "We need to discuss the Prometheus Protocol," Kane said, causing several leaders to shift uncomfortably. The protocol represented humanity's most extreme contingency plan, one that would fundamentally change the nature of the conflict. Colonel Santos was the first to voice her concerns. "General, the ethical implications of Prometheus are staggering. We're talking about permanently altering human evolution, creating a subspecies designed specifically for warfare." The Prometheus Protocol involved mass genetic modification of human volunteers, creating soldiers with enhanced strength, speed, and intelligence that surpassed even the Zephyrian ground forces. The modifications were irreversible and would be passed down to future generations, essentially splitting humanity into two distinct species. "The alternative is extinction," Kane replied bluntly. "The Zephyrians have shown no interest in negotiation or compromise. They view us as primitives to be enslaved or eliminated. We can maintain our ethical standards and die as pure humans, or we can adapt and survive as something new. The debate that followed lasted for hours, touching on fundamental questions about human nature and survival. Some argued that becoming like their enemies would constitute a victory for the Zephyrians, that humanity would lose its essential character in the pursuit of military superiority. Others maintained that survival trumped all other considerations, that any price was worth paying to ensure human civilization continued to exist. In the end, the vote was closer than Kane had hoped. The Prometheus Protocol was approved by a narrow margin, with implementation scheduled to begin within 2 weeks. Volunteers would undergo the most extensive genetic modifications ever attempted, transforming them into post-human warriors capable of matching any threat the galaxy could produce. As the conference ended and the holographic projections faded, Kane found himself alone with his thoughts atop the ruined tower. The sun was setting over the devastated city, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that reminded him of the fires that had consumed so much of human civilization. His personal communicator chimed with an incoming message from his daughter Rachel, a military engineer working on weapons development in the Colorado bunkers. Her face appeared on the small screen, showing the strain of months spent in underground facilities, but still carrying the determination that had always defined her character. "Dad, I wanted you to know that I've volunteered for the Prometheus program," she said without preamble. "I know you'll try to talk me out of it, but my mind is made up. Someone has to be willing to take the next step in human evolution, and I'd rather it be someone who understands what we're fighting for." Kane felt his heart clench as he looked at his daughter's face. Rachel had always been brilliant, graduating from MIT at 19 and earning dual doctorates in bioengineering and quantum physics by 25. The idea of her undergoing irreversible genetic modification filled him with a mixture of pride and terror. "The first batch of Prometheus subjects will begin treatment next week," Rachel continued. "Initial projections suggest a 70% survival rate for the full modification sequence. Those are better odds than we faced during the initial invasion." The transmission ended, leaving Kane alone with the weight of command and the knowledge that humanity's future now rested on the shoulders of volunteers willing to sacrifice their fundamental nature for the chance to fight back. The Zephyrians had struck first, believing they faced a primitive species incapable of meaningful resistance. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. In hidden facilities across the globe, human scientists worked around the clock to unlock the secrets of alien technology. Enhanced soldiers trained with weapons that channeled the same energies that had devastated Earth's cities. Ordinary men and women submitted to procedures that would transform them into something beyond human recognition. The second phase of the war was about to begin, and this time, humanity would not be caught unprepared. The aliens had awakened something primal in the human species, a capacity for adaptation and violence that had carried them from primitive hunters to masters of their world. Kane activated his command interface one final time before retiring to his quarters. Orders flowed across secured channels to resistance cells on every continent. The next few weeks would determine whether humanity survived as a species or joined the ranks of civilizations that had fallen to Zephyrian conquest. As he walked through the underground corridors that connected the command center to his personal quarters, Kane passed groups of enhanced soldiers training with their new capabilities. Their movements were fluid and precise, reflexes enhanced beyond normal human limits. Neural interfaces allowed them to process tactical information at superhuman speeds, while genetic modifications provided strength and endurance that matched their alien enemies. These soldiers represented the future of human warfare, but they also symbolized something deeper. They were living proof that humanity would pay any price, make any sacrifice, to ensure their species' survival. The Zephyrians had sought to break human spirit with their devastating first strike. Instead, they had forged it into something harder than any metal, sharper than any blade. The war for Earth's freedom was about to enter its most crucial phase, and General Marcus Kane would make certain that humanity's response would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. In the depths of space, Zephyrian fleet commanders prepared their final assault, confident that the primitive species on the third planet would soon join the ranks of their conquered territories. They had no idea that their actions had awakened humanity's greatest strength. the absolute refusal to surrender in the face of extinction. The first shot had been fired, and Earth had absorbed the blow. Now it was time for humanity to strike back with everything they had become, everything they were willing to sacrifice, and everything they could evolve into. The Zephyrian Empire was about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered in their centuries of conquest. They were about to face humanity at war. The transport ship's hull groaned under the stress of atmospheric entry as Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the safety harness securing her to the drop seat. Around her, 37 other Prometheus soldiers sat in perfect silence, their enhanced nervous systems processing pre-mission data at speeds that would have overwhelmed unmodified humans. Each warrior represented the culmination of humanity's desperate evolutionary leap, their bodies transformed by alien technology into weapons capable of matching the Zephyrian threat. 6 weeks had passed since the first successful Prometheus modifications, and the results exceeded every projection. The enhanced soldiers demonstrated reaction times 15 times faster than baseline humans, strength levels that allowed them to tear through steel plating with their bare hands, and tactical processing capabilities that rivaled military supercomputers. The genetic modifications had taken root perfectly, creating beings that were recognizably human yet fundamentally transformed. Elena flexed her fingers, feeling the subtle play of enhanced muscle fibers beneath skin that had been reinforced with bioengineered polymers. Neural pathways sparked with data streams from her tactical interface, painting the interior of the transport with overlays of mission parameters and enemy positions. Her enhanced senses could detect the elevated stress hormones of her fellow soldiers, the minute vibrations in the ship's structure, and the electromagnetic signatures of Zephyrian installations on the moon's surface below. Luna Base had fallen to alien occupation 3 days after the initial Earth bombardment. The facility's population of 1,200 scientists and support personnel had been taken alive, transported to the surface installation that the Zephyrians had constructed using their advanced matter manipulation technology. Intelligence gathered from long-range reconnaissance suggested the prisoners were being used for biological research, as the aliens sought to understand human physiology for more effective subjugation techniques. 2 minutes to drop, announced Commander Nash through the internal communications system. The former Navy SEAL had undergone Prometheus modification despite being in his 50s, proving that the genetic alterations could enhance humans across all age ranges. His tactical experience combined with post-human capabilities made him the ideal leader for the mission. Elena's heads-up display updated with final mission parameters. Their objective was to infiltrate the Zephyrian lunar installation, gather intelligence on alien technology and capabilities, and extract any surviving human prisoners. More importantly, they were tasked with field-testing humanity's new weapons systems against actual Zephyrian forces under combat conditions. The weapons themselves represented a fusion of human engineering and reverse-engineered alien technology. Elena's primary armament was a plasma rifle that channeled quantum energy through crystalline focusing arrays salvaged from the Nevada crash site. The weapon could penetrate Zephyrian personal shields and armor, delivering destructive power equivalent to a small artillery shell with each shot. Her secondary weapon was even more revolutionary. The molecular disruption blade appeared to be a simple metal handle until activated, at which point it projected a field of exotic particles that could slice through any known material at the atomic level. The blade required tremendous energy to maintain, but Elena's enhanced physiology could sustain the weapon's power requirements for extended periods. Approaching drop zone, Nash reported. Remember, this is a reconnaissance mission first. We gather intelligence, extract prisoners if possible, and avoid unnecessary engagement. The primary objective is testing our capabilities against alien forces, not winning the war in a single operation. The transport's rear doors began opening with a soft hiss of equalizing atmosphere. Elena's enhanced metabolism automatically adjusted to the vacuum of space, her modified cardiovascular system maintaining consciousness and mobility in environments that would kill unmodified humans within seconds. The Prometheus modifications included redundant oxygen storage systems and radiation shielding that made space operations possible without bulky environmental suits. One by one, the enhanced soldiers dropped through the transport's doors, their modified bodies oriented toward the lunar surface below. Alina felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as she stepped into space, though her enhanced nervous system processed the sensation differently than it would have before her transformation. Fear and excitement were muted, replaced by a crystalline focus that allowed her to assess tactical situations with perfect clarity. The lunar surface rushed toward them at terminal velocity. At precisely 3,000 meters altitude, each soldier activated their personal gravity manipulation devices, another piece of reverse-engineered alien technology that allowed for controlled descent without traditional parachutes. Alina felt the subtle shift as the device created a localized gravitational field, slowing her descent and allowing for pinpoint landing accuracy. The Zephyrian installation spread across the lunar surface like a metallic cancer, its organic curves and impossible geometries a stark contrast to the utilitarian human facilities it had replaced. Sensor sweeps revealed the complex extended deep underground, with multiple levels housing prisoner facilities, research laboratories, and command centers. Electromagnetic shields surrounded the entire installation, protecting it from conventional weapons, but potentially vulnerable to the quantum-based armaments the Prometheus soldiers carried. Alina landed silently in a crater approximately 2 kilometers from the installation's perimeter. Her enhanced vision automatically adjusted to the stark lighting conditions, allowing her to perceive details that would have been invisible to unmodified human senses. Thermal imaging revealed patrol patterns of Zephyrian guards, while electromagnetic detection systems mapped the defensive grid surrounding the complex. "Perimeter secured," reported Sergeant Torres through the tactical communication network. The enhanced soldiers had spread across multiple approach vectors, using their superior mobility and sensory capabilities to establish observation positions around the target. Counting approximately 40 external guards with standard energy weapons and personal shield generators. Alina studied the guard positions through her rifle scope, analyzing movement patterns and defensive arrangements. The Zephyrian soldiers were impressive specimens, their natural armor plating gleaming in the harsh lunar sunlight. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with elongated limbs and predatory grace, they moved with the confidence of apex predators who had never encountered meaningful resistance. That was about to change. "Begin approach phase," Nash commanded through encrypted channels. "Teams Alpha and Bravo will create diversions at grid references 7 and 12, while Charlie Team infiltrates through the primary access point. Alina, your team takes the underground levels and locates the prisoner holding areas." Alina acknowledged the orders and began moving toward her assigned entry point. Her enhanced musculature allowed her to bound across the lunar surface in leaps that covered dozens of meters, while her modified nervous system calculated trajectory and landing points with mathematical precision. The gravity manipulation device fine-tuned her movements, allowing her to navigate the complex terrain without creating detectable vibrations. The first Zephyrian guard died without ever knowing he was under attack. Alina's molecular disruption blade sliced through his armor plating and organic flesh in a single motion, the exotic particle field cauterizing the wound instantly to prevent blood from alerting nearby sentries. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to catch the falling body and lower it silently to the ground before continuing toward the installation's entrance. The access portal was sealed with alien technology that combined physical barriers with energy fields. Alina placed her palm against the scanning interface, allowing her modified nervous system to interface directly with the Zephyrian security network. The neural enhancements granted her limited technopathic abilities, enabling her to manipulate alien computer systems through direct contact. Within seconds, she had bypassed 17 layers of security and gained access to the installation's internal layout. Data flowed through her enhanced mind as she mapped corridor systems, identified prisoner locations, and cataloged defensive systems. The intelligence was immediately shared with her team through quantum-encrypted communication channels. The interior of the Zephyrian installation was a marvel of alien engineering. Corridors curved through impossible geometries, while surfaces seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Gravity varied between sections, creating three-dimensional navigation challenges that would have disoriented normal humans. Alina's enhanced spatial reasoning allowed her to adapt quickly, moving through the complex environment with fluid efficiency. She encountered her first internal guard at Junction 7 Alpha. The Zephyrian soldier was monitoring security displays when Alina's plasma rifle discharged, the quantum-charged bolt punching through his personal shields and armor in a shower of sparks. The alien's death was instantaneous, his body collapsing in a heap of twisted metal and organic matter. "First contact confirmed," Alina reported through tactical channels. "Plasma weapons are effective against standard Zephyrian defenses, proceeding to prisoner levels." The deeper sections of the installation revealed the true horror of Zephyrian occupation. Alina discovered laboratories where human subjects were being dissected alive, their nervous systems analyzed to understand the source of species resilience. Other chambers contained experimental facilities where captured humans were subjected to various forms of psychological and physical torture, presumably to test breaking points and submission thresholds. Alina's enhanced emotional control prevented the rage from overwhelming her tactical thinking, but she made careful note of every atrocity for future reference. The Zephyrians would answer for these crimes when humanity's full response reached them. She found the primary prisoner holding area on sublevel 9, a vast chamber containing approximately 300 human survivors in various states of physical and mental trauma. The prisoners were held in energy cages that prevented movement, while monitoring systems tracked their biological functions. Alina could see that many had been subjected to experimental procedures, their bodies bearing the marks of alien medical intervention. "Prisoners located," she reported, "initiating extraction protocols." Alina's neural interface accessed the holding system's control matrix, using her technopathic abilities to disable the energy cages one by one. The prisoners responded with a mixture of relief and terror, many too traumatized to fully comprehend their rescue. Alina moved through the crowd, her enhanced senses detecting injuries and medical needs, while her tactical computer calculated optimal evacuation routes. "Alina, we have a problem," came Nash's voice through the communication system. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy buildup in the main facility. The aliens are powering up some kind of weapon system." Alina's heads-up display updated with new intelligence gathered by her team members throughout the installation. The Zephyrians had been constructing a planetary bombardment weapon using Luna Base as a platform, a device capable of sterilizing entire continents with focused antimatter beams. The weapon was nearly complete, requiring only a few more days of calibration before it could be deployed against Earth's surviving population centers. The mission parameters had changed. What began as a reconnaissance operation was now a critical strike against a weapon of mass destruction that threatened humanity's continued existence. "All teams priority shift," Nash commanded. "The bombardment weapon takes precedence over prisoner extraction. Alina, can you access the weapon's control systems from your position?" Alina studied the installation's schematic data flowing through her neural interface. The weapons control center was located on the uppermost level of the facility, protected by multiple layers of security and heavily defended by elite Zephyrian guards. Reaching it would require fighting through dozens of alien soldiers while navigating complex defensive systems. "Affirmative," Alina replied, "but I'll need support from the other teams. The control center is a hardened target with significant defensive measures." "Understood. Teams Alpha and Bravo will create maximum chaos to draw defenders away from your route. Charlie Team will provide direct fire support. You have 15 minutes to reach the control center before Zephyrian reinforcements arrive from orbit." Alina turned to address the freed prisoners, her enhanced voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Stay here and remain quiet. Rescue teams are en route to extract you, but I need to complete another objective first." She left the prisoners with emergency supplies and medical equipment, then began moving toward the upper levels of the installation. The corridors echoed with the sounds of combat as her fellow Prometheus soldiers engaged Zephyrian forces throughout the complex. Plasma fire and energy beams created a light show that would have been beautiful under different circumstances. Alina encountered increasing resistance as she climbed toward the weapon control center. Zephyrian soldiers appeared around every corner, their energy weapons seeking to overwhelm her enhanced reflexes and defensive capabilities. Her plasma rifle spoke repeatedly, each shot claiming an alien life as she carved a path through their defensive lines. The molecular disruption blade proved equally effective in close combat. When ammunition ran low, Alina drew the exotic weapon and waded into melee range with her enemies. The blade sliced through Zephyrian armor like tissue paper, while her enhanced strength and speed allowed her to engage multiple opponents simultaneously. At sublevel 3, she encountered something new. A Zephyrian commander wearing advanced armor and wielding weapons that challenged even her enhanced capabilities. The alien stood nearly 9 feet tall with additional cybernetic enhancements that suggested high rank within their military hierarchy. The combat was brutal and prolonged. The commander's weapons discharged energy beams that tested the limits of Alina's defensive systems, while his enhanced reflexes nearly matched her own enhanced capabilities. They fought through 3 levels of the installation, their battle destroying alien equipment and structural supports as they traded devastating attacks. Alina finally gained the upper hand when she managed to disable the commander's primary weapon with a precisely placed plasma shot. The molecular disruption blade found its mark moments later, slicing through the alien's enhanced armor and ending the threat. She stood over the fallen commander, her enhanced physiology already beginning to repair the damage sustained during their fight. "Control center in sight," she reported as she approached the final objective. "Multiple hostiles detected, beginning final assault." The weapon control center was defended by a dozen elite Zephyrian soldiers equipped with the most advanced technology their empire could provide. Alina's approach triggered multiple defensive systems, filling the corridor with energy beams and projectile weapons designed to stop any conventional assault force. Alina was far from conventional. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to weave between the incoming fire, while her plasma rifle returned precise shots that found gaps in alien defenses. The molecular disruption blade carved through barricades and defensive emplacements, clearing a path toward the control center's main entrance. The final guard fell to a combination of plasma fire and enhanced combat techniques, his body joining the growing pile of alien casualties that marked Alina's passage through the installation. She stood before the control center's main console, her neural interface already analyzing the weapon system's operational parameters. The bombardment weapon was a masterpiece of alien engineering, capable of focusing antimatter streams with surgical precision across interplanetary distances. The device could eliminate entire cities without damaging surrounding infrastructure, making it the perfect tool for selective genocide while preserving valuable resources for Zephyrian exploitation. Alina placed her hands on the control interface, allowing her enhanced nervous system to interface directly with the weapon's computer core. The alien systems resisted her intrusion at first, but her modified neural pathways adapted quickly to their operational protocols. Within minutes, she had gained complete control over the bombardment weapon. "Control achieved," she reported, initiating weapon self-destruct sequence. The weapon's destruction would deny the Zephyrians a critical strategic asset while sending a clear message about humanity's new capabilities. Alina programmed the self-destruct to activate after a 30-minute delay, providing sufficient time for prisoner extraction while ensuring the installation's complete destruction. "All teams extraction phase initiated," Nash announced. "Rendezvous at Landing Zone Alpha for prisoner transport. Mission accomplished." Alina began her withdrawal from the control center, moving quickly through corridors now filled with alarm signals and emergency lighting. Zephyrian reinforcements were arriving from orbital positions, but they would find only ruins and evidence of their empire's first major defeat at human hands. She reached the prisoner holding area to find her fellow Prometheus soldiers organizing evacuation procedures. The rescued humans were being loaded onto transport platforms that would carry them to the waiting evacuation ships. Many were in serious medical condition, requiring immediate treatment in Earth's underground hospital facilities. "How many?" Alina asked as she helped load wounded prisoners onto the transport platforms. 293 survivors, reported medic specialist Chen, her enhanced diagnostic capabilities allowing her to triage patients with superhuman efficiency. "Approximately 40% require immediate medical intervention, but all are stable enough for transport." Alina nodded, her enhanced emotional control maintaining professional detachment despite the obvious evidence of alien atrocities. The rescued prisoners represented valuable intelligence about Zephyrian capabilities and intentions, but they also served as reminders of the cost of humanity's resistance. The evacuation proceeded smoothly, with enhanced soldiers providing security while transport platforms carried prisoners to the landing zone. Elena remained behind to ensure complete extraction, her tactical computer tracking life signs and confirming that no human survivors remained in the facility. 30 seconds to weapon detonation, she announced through communication channels. All personnel clear the installation immediately. The Prometheus soldiers withdrew from Luna Base with military precision, their enhanced capabilities allowing them to cover ground at speeds that left pursuing Zephyrian forces far behind. Elena was the last to reach the landing zone, arriving moments before the transport ship sealed their doors and began atmospheric ascent. The bombardment weapon's destruction lit up the lunar sky like a miniature sun, the antimatter containment systems failing catastrophically and taking half the alien installation with them. Secondary explosions rippled through underground levels as stored energy cells overloaded and detonated, ensuring that nothing useful would remain for the Zephyrians to salvage. Mission accomplished, Nash reported to Orbital Command. Primary objective achieved with minimal casualties, intelligence gathered and prisoners extracted successfully. Elena settled into her transport seat, her enhanced physiology already beginning to process the stimulants and adrenaline that had sustained her through the mission. Around her, fellow Prometheus soldiers compared tactical data and discussed combat effectiveness against alien forces. The mission had proven that enhanced humans could not only match Zephyrian capabilities, but exceed them in many areas. As Earth grew larger in the transport's viewports, Elena reviewed the intelligence gathered during their infiltration. The Zephyrian Empire was vast and powerful, but they had grown complacent after centuries of easy conquests. Their military doctrine assumed enemy inferiority and relied heavily on technological advantages that could be countered through human adaptation and innovation. More importantly, the mission had demonstrated that Zephyrian forces could be defeated. Their soldiers died just like any other enemy when faced with superior tactics and firepower. Their technology could be understood and duplicated through human scientific analysis. Their strategic advantages could be neutralized through unconventional warfare and asymmetric tactics. The war was far from over, but humanity had taken its first step toward victory. The Zephyrian Empire had struck Earth first, believing they faced a primitive species incapable of meaningful resistance. They had awakened something they did not understand and could not control. They had awakened humanity's capacity for evolution, adaptation, and righteous fury. In the depths of space, Zephyrian fleet commanders received reports of Luna Base's destruction with growing concern. For the first time in their empire's history, they faced an enemy that could learn, adapt, and strike back with devastating effectiveness. The primitive species of the third planet was proving to be far more dangerous than initial assessments had suggested. General Marcus Kane received the mission reports from his command center deep beneath the Colorado mountains. The success of the Luna operation exceeded every projection and provided critical intelligence about enemy capabilities and weaknesses. More importantly, it proved that the Prometheus program had created soldiers capable of matching the galaxy's most advanced military forces. Elena Vasquez and her fellow enhanced warriors had fired the first shot in humanity's counteroffensive. The Zephyrian Empire would soon learn that striking Earth first had been the greatest mistake in their long history of conquest. Humanity was no longer hiding in the ruins of their civilization. They were coming, and they were bringing everything they had learned about war, survival, and the price of freedom. Admiral Supreme Kethvar stood on the command bridge of the Zephyrian dreadnought Eternal Dominion *. His 4 eyes focused on the tactical displays, showing the approaching human fleet. 6 months had passed since the Luna Base incident, and the primitive species of the third planet had somehow managed to construct a battle fleet capable of interstellar travel. The intelligence reports were almost too absurd to believe, yet the evidence hung in the void before them like a challenge written in starfare. 47 human vessels approached the Proxima Centauri system, their hull configurations unlike anything in Zephyrian databases. The ships appeared to be fusion-powered, primitive by galactic standards, yet they moved with tactical precision that suggested sophisticated command and control systems. Long-range sensors detected energy signatures consistent with reverse-engineered Zephyrian technology, though the power outputs were far beyond what the stolen components should have been capable of producing. Analysis of enemy fleet composition, Kethvar demanded, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. Fleet Intelligence Officer HFY consulted her tactical computer, her elongated fingers dancing across holographic controls. 17 heavy cruisers of unknown configuration, 23 destroyer-class vessels, and 7 ships that appear to be dedicated carrier platforms. Total crew complement estimated at 47,000 beings. Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what humans might have recognized as contemptuous laughter. 47,000 primitives against the Third Fleet's complement of 2 million warriors. They must be suffering from some form of collective insanity. The Zephyrian Third Fleet represented one of the Empire's most powerful naval formations, consisting of 312 vessels ranging from fast attack craft to the massive dreadnoughts that served as mobile command centers. Each ship was equipped with quantum-dimensional weapons capable of destroying planets, while their crews were drawn from the Empire's finest military academies. The fleet had conquered 47 star systems without suffering a single tactical defeat. Yet Kethvar found himself troubled by reports from the Empire's intelligence services. Human resistance had proven far more resilient than initial projections suggested. The species had not only survived the initial bombardment, but had somehow managed to reverse-engineer captured technology and create enhanced soldiers capable of matching Zephyrian ground forces. The destruction of Luna Base had required a complete revision of tactical assessments regarding human capabilities. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel," reported Communications Officer Nethril. "They're broadcasting on standard diplomatic frequencies." "Let me hear what these primitives have to say," Kethvar commanded, his curiosity overcoming his contempt. The transmission crackled to life across the bridge speakers, carrying a voice that spoke with calm authority despite the impossible circumstances. "This is General Marcus Kane of the United Earth Defense Force, speaking to the commander of the Zephyrian fleet. You struck Earth first without provocation, destroying our cities and murdering 2 billion innocent civilians. We offered no threat to your empire, sought no conflict with your forces, and desired only peaceful coexistence among the stars." Kethvar listened to the primitive's words with growing amazement. The human actually believed his pathetic fleet could threaten the might of the Zephyrian Empire. The delusion was almost entertaining. "You have exactly one opportunity to surrender unconditionally," Kane's voice continued. "Lower your shields, power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to galactic conventions regarding prisoners of war. Refuse this offer, and we will demonstrate why striking Earth first was the greatest mistake your empire has ever made." The bridge fell silent as the transmission ended. Kethvar's staff exchanged glances of disbelief and amusement. A species that had barely achieved interstellar flight was demanding the surrender of one of the galaxy's most powerful naval formations. The audacity was unprecedented in the Empire's long history. "Shall I prepare the standard terms for their surrender?" asked HFY, assuming the Admiral would respond with the traditional ultimatum given to inferior species. "No," Kethvar replied, his decision made. "These primitives need to learn their place in the galactic order. All vessels, weapons free, destroy them completely." The Third Fleet responded with practiced efficiency. Quantum torpedoes streaked across the void, while dimensional beam weapons reached out to reduce human vessels to component atoms. The combined firepower of 300 ships should have ended the engagement within minutes, leaving nothing but expanding clouds of debris to mark the location of the human fleet. Instead, something impossible happened. The human vessels weathered the opening barrage without suffering a single casualty. Their defensive systems absorbed or deflected weapons that should have penetrated any known shielding technology. Return fire began reaching Zephyrian vessels with devastating accuracy, striking critical systems and overloading defensive screens that had never failed in over 2 centuries of service. "How are they doing this?" Kethvar demanded as damage reports flooded his tactical display. "Their technology should be inferior to ours in every measurable category." "Unknown, sir," HFY replied, her voice tight with concern. "Their defensive systems appear to operate on principles we don't recognize. It's as if they've found ways to enhance our own technology beyond its theoretical limitations." On the human flagship Indomitable General Kane watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The 6 months following the Luna operation had seen humanity's industrial base transformed into a war machine of unprecedented capability. Every captured piece of Zephyrian technology had been analyzed, improved, and mass-produced in facilities that operated around the clock beneath Earth's scarred surface. The human fleet represented the culmination of that effort. Each vessel incorporated advances in quantum engineering that pushed alien technology to its absolute limits. Human creativity and innovation had taken Zephyrian designs and enhanced them with improvements their original creators had never imagined possible. More importantly, every ship was crewed by Prometheus-enhanced warriors, whose superhuman capabilities allowed them to operate complex systems with efficiency that surpassed even Zephyrian standards. The enhanced crews could process tactical information faster, respond to threats more quickly, and coordinate fleet actions with precision that bordered on telepathic. "Target the command ships first," Kane ordered. "Take out their leadership and the rest of the fleet will fall into disarray." The human vessels moved with fluid grace, their captains thinking and responding faster than biological limitations should have allowed. Enhanced reflexes translated into split-second tactical decisions that caught Zephyrian commanders off guard. Human ships appeared where enemy fire wasn't expected them, struck at weak points in alien formations, and vanished before return fire could find its mark. Kane's tactical display showed the first Zephyrian casualties as human weapons found their marks. A destroyer-class vessel erupted in a ball of superheated plasma, its quantum containment systems failing catastrophically. A heavy cruiser lost power and began drifting helplessly as targeted strikes disabled its primary systems. The Third Fleet's perfect combat record was ending in a cloud of debris and dying dreams of easy conquest. "Sir, multiple Zephyrian vessels are attempting to retreat," reported Captain Sarah Chen from her position at the tactical station. The young officer had undergone Prometheus enhancement after losing her family in the initial bombardment, emerging with capabilities that made her one of the fleet's finest tactical analysts. "Let them run," Kane replied. "But make sure a few escape to carry word back to their empire. The Zephyrians need to understand that humanity is no longer hiding in caves and underground bunkers." The battle raged for 3 hours, a duration that would have been unthinkable under normal circumstances. Zephyrian forces were accustomed to overwhelming inferior opponents within minutes, not engaging in prolonged combat against enemies that could match their technological advantages. Admiral Kethvar watched his fleet slowly disintegrate under human fire, unable to comprehend how primitives were systematically destroying the Third Fleet's finest vessels. His own dreadnought had suffered multiple hits, its shields fluctuating under the assault of weapons that somehow bypassed quantum-dimensional defenses. "All vessels, initiate retreat pattern 7, he finally commanded, his pride crushed beneath the reality of tactical defeat. "We withdraw to Rally Point Beta for damage assessment and strategic review." The surviving Zephyrian ships began breaking off from combat, their faster-than-light drives spinning up for emergency translation to safe space. Of the original 312 vessels, only 118 remained combat effective. The rest were either destroyed or too damaged to continue fighting. Kane watched the alien fleet retreat with cold satisfaction. The engagement had proven that human forces could not only match Zephyrian capabilities, but exceed them through superior tactics and enhanced technology. The Empire's aura of invincibility had been shattered, replaced by the growing realization that Earth represented a threat unlike any they had previously encountered. "Damage report," Kane requested as the last enemy vessel vanished into hyperspace. "Minimal casualties across the fleet," Chen replied, her enhanced processing speed allowing her to compile data from dozens of sources simultaneously. 7 vessels suffered minor damage, 2 required dock time for repairs. No ships lost, total crew casualties under 50. The numbers were almost unbelievable. A human fleet had engaged and defeated a superior enemy force while suffering negligible losses. The success validated every sacrifice made during the development of enhanced warriors and improved technology. "Signal all ships to assume standard formation," Kane ordered. "We proceed to the primary objective." The human fleet reformed and continued deeper into the Proxima Centauri system, heading toward their true target. The engagement with the Third Fleet had been a secondary objective, designed to test human capabilities against Zephyrian forces while clearing the way for the mission's primary goal. Proxima Centauri hosted the Zephyrian Empire's regional command center, a massive space station that coordinated military operations across 17 star systems. The facility housed the strategic planning centers that had designed Earth's bombardment, the intelligence networks that identified targets for conquest, and the communication systems that linked the scattered forces of the Empire's expansion fleets. Kane intended to destroy it completely. The command station appeared on long-range sensors as a structure of impossible size and complexity. Spanning over 50 kilometers in diameter, it housed a population of 3 million Zephyrian military personnel and civilian administrators. Defensive platforms surrounded the station like a metal constellation, each one armed with weapons capable of destroying capital ships. Beginning assault phase, Kane announced as the human fleet approached effective weapons range. All vessels execute formation pattern Delta, target the defensive platforms first, then focus fire on the main station. The attack that followed demonstrated the evolution of human warfare from desperate resistance to calculated aggression. Enhanced crews operated their vessels with machine-like precision, while quantum-enhanced weapons systems delivered devastating firepower at ranges that challenged even Zephyrian defensive calculations. Human ships moved through the defensive grid like dancers performing a lethal ballet. They struck and faded, concentrated fire on key targets, and supported each other with tactical coordination that seemed almost mystical in its effectiveness. One by one, the defensive platforms fell silent, their debris joining the expanding cloud of wreckage that marked humanity's passage through the system. The command station's shields held longer than its defensive escorts, but they too eventually succumbed to sustained bombardment from weapons that had been designed specifically to penetrate Zephyrian defensive technology. Human engineers had studied every captured shield generator, analyzed their operating principles, and developed countermeasures that could overwhelm their protective fields through resonance frequency manipulation. "Station shields failing," reported Weapons Officer Thompson, his enhanced nervous system allowing him to coordinate fire from dozens of human vessels simultaneously. Structural damage detected across multiple sections. Kane studied the tactical display showing the dying command station. 3 million beings were about to die, most of them guilty of nothing more than serving an empire that viewed conquest as a natural right. For a moment, he felt the weight of genocide pressing against his enhanced emotional controls. Then he remembered the children who had died in Chicago's ruins, the families vaporized in London's streets, the millions of innocents who had paid the price for Zephyrian arrogance. His resolve hardened into something that could have cut through ship armor. "Continue firing until the station is completely destroyed," he ordered. "No survivors, no salvage, no mercy." The command station died in a cascade of explosions that lit up the Proxima system like a newborn star. Quantum power cores overloaded and detonated, tearing apart the massive structure and sending debris streams racing toward the system's outer planets. 3 million Zephyrian lives ended in an instant, but their death sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. Earth had evolved beyond the helpless species that had begged for mercy during the initial bombardment. Humanity had become something new, something dangerous, something that could reach across interstellar distances to deliver retribution with surgical precision. As the human fleet prepared for its return journey to Earth, Kane composed a message that would be broadcast on every frequency the Zephyrian Empire used for official communications. The transmission would reach their homeworld within days, carrying words that would change the course of galactic history. "Citizens of the Zephyrian Empire," Kane's voice carried across space with cold authority. "6 months ago, your fleet struck Earth without provocation, murdering 2 billion innocent beings in an unprovoked act of aggression. You offered no terms for surrender, no opportunity for negotiation, no chance for peaceful coexistence. You sought to break our spirit through overwhelming violence and force our species into slavery." The message paused, allowing the weight of those words to settle across alien communication networks. "You failed to understand a fundamental truth about humanity. We are not a species that breaks under pressure. We are a species that adapts, evolves, and grows stronger when faced with extinction. Every attack you launch teaches us more about your weaknesses. Every victory you achieve costs you more than you can afford to lose." Kane's image appeared on the transmission, showing the galaxy a human face marked by determination and righteous fury. The destruction of your third fleet and the Proxima command station represents only the beginning of our response. We have identified 43 Zephyrian systems that house military installations, research facilities, and population centers. Each one will be systematically destroyed until your empire withdraws completely from human space and pays reparations for the damage you have caused. The transmission continued for several more minutes, outlining humanity's terms for ending the conflict and the consequences of continued Zephyrian aggression. The demands were harsh but fair: complete withdrawal from the Sol system, payment of reparations equivalent to rebuilding Earth's destroyed cities, and formal recognition of human territorial sovereignty. "You struck Earth first," Kane concluded. "Now we're coming for you. Every world that supports your military forces, every system that contributes to your war effort, every installation that threatens human security will be eliminated. You have awakened something that your empire is not equipped to handle. You have awakened humanity at war." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy to contemplate the implications of Earth's transformation from victim to aggressor. On dozens of worlds, Zephyrian military commanders studied the footage of the Third Fleet's destruction and began revising their assessment of human capabilities. The primitive species had somehow achieved technological and tactical superiority that challenged the Empire's fundamental assumptions about galactic warfare. In the depths of space, the human fleet began its journey home to Earth, carrying news of victory and the promise of continued resistance. General Kane stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Asterisk, watching alien stars fade into the distance as his ships entered hyperspace. Humanity had taken its first step beyond the solar system, and that step had been planted firmly on the throat of their enemies. The Zephyrian Empire had sought to conquer a helpless species, and instead had awakened a nemesis that would reshape the balance of power across known space. Earth's children were no longer content to hide in the ruins of their civilization. They were reaching for the stars, and they would claim their place in the galaxy through strength, cunning, and the absolute refusal to surrender. The war was far from over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had evolved beyond recognition, transforming from peaceful explorers into warriors capable of matching any threat the galaxy could produce. The Zephyrians had struck first, believing they faced easy prey. They had awakened apex predators. On Earth, in the deep command centers buried beneath scarred continents, enhanced humans worked around the clock to prepare the next phase of humanity's expansion. Shipyards that had never existed before the invasion now produced vessels that surpassed alien technology in every measurable category. Training facilities turned ordinary humans into post-human warriors whose capabilities defied every biological limitation their species had once accepted. The message was spreading across known space through alien communication networks, carried by refugees and survivors who had witnessed Earth's retaliation. Humanity was coming, armed with technology that challenged galactic superpowers and driven by a fury that would not be satisfied until justice had been achieved. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, but their reign was ending. A new power was rising from the ashes of Earth's cities, and it would remake the cosmos according to human values of freedom, justice, and the absolute right to exist without fear. General Marcus Kane's warning echoed across 43 star systems, carried by quantum transmissions that penetrated every layer of alien security. The words were simple, direct, and terrifyingly sincere. They had struck Earth first. Now humanity was coming for them, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.